Hi, this is Graham Jeacocke. Now, in the UK, all the arty people, musicians, artists, goodness knows what, well, they're all complaining to the government that they're not funded. Well, to be honest, I don't think the government should fund the arts for the primary schools. I think all the children should go without. Because, let's look at ISIS. The adults in ISIS discipline the children so they grow up to be judgmental. Now, in music is no different. Although the end result, death, is far into the distance, the individual who studies like music or art can possibly take their lives. Terence Judd is one fine example. Now, all these adults in music, now I don't know anything about how the art world goes on, but I can tell how pompous they may be. I'm an artist as well. I draw with my left hand. Now, my forte, because I want to give my dedication to music, right? And I hear all these proud musicians going on stage protesting about the worth of music, how much it builds up the emotional state. Well, that's a load of crap. Because the very people in the music industry are bringing you down because they're saying you're not good enough. Now, I'm not saying that we want bad players to represent what music should sound like. That's not my argument. There's a pianist in the UK called Stephen Huff, and he's a Christian, and I caught one comment of his. He was asked, do you believe in hell? And he says, I can't quite possibly believe in such a place as hell. Well, that's very funny, because I also caught another comment of his about music. Well, music should be to such a high standard. They shouldn't accept anybody. Well, you're on the one, what is more important? How music is played to one another, or how humanity plays out to one another? I mean, if you want to turn the other way, Mr. Huff, to how somebody chooses to understand love, let's say Ted Bundy. Now, you say to Ted Bundy, hell doesn't exist. Ted Bundy, alright, I like the idea of that. And Ted Bundy does his thing. He goes round killing people. Now, there's a difference between disciplining oneself, right? But if that one person who's trying to be disciplined, and I'm talking about music or the arts, but they don't succeed, you don't cut them off. Now, let's take Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Peter swiped the ear off and Jesus immediately resolved that situation. Now, if Jesus had rejected Peter, Jesus would have demonstrated humanity has no hope. the only way to progress in humanity is to say, you've done wrong, I forgive you, but tomorrow you will do better, you will behave better, you will learn to be a better you. Now, the problem with music or the arts in general, these so-called scholars, these lecturers, and even the mighty public who claim they like music, but they don't like the inferiority of a person's ability because they're embarrassed with it. But this is the problem. That's the main reason why I believe the government should never, ever fund the arts until these lecturers and scholars change their attitude. They have to be accepting of the spectrum of ability. Now, I'm not... You have to treat each other. You see, I'm trying to remember a verse in the Bible. In Christ there is no Jew, there is no Gentile, there is no male, there is no female, there is no slave, because we're all one in Christ. We are all trying to be the same thing. And this is a... If music or the arts have any worth, you're meant to pick up the people that are lagging behind. You look after the vulnerable, because it may be the vulnerable people that have other skills or abilities that the arts may be able to use. You see, even I find it very odd, this double-edged sword approach to the arts that people have. I mean, if you're not that, you're out. It's like hell. Jesus said, if you don't do this, you get put on, you burn in the lakes of hell. Well, that's how musicians and artists think. If you're not like that, you might as well burn in hell. And just remember what Terence Judd did. He committed suicide. I mean, even the artists that don't go that one step, they still have emotional turmoil within their lives that is linked to how these professors and lecturers in music dictated how music should be represented. You're quite frankly a joke. That's why all these orchestras have not got any funding, and that's why they break up, because you're not a loving community. You see, Christianity picks up the pieces and builds them up, whereas the manipulation of atheists in the arts, they bring people down. You see, atheists have corrupted Stephen Huff's way of thinking. I mean, if he wants to say that music should have a a particular level of standard, then surely a human being has a particular level of standard. Whereas, what you gonna do, Mr. Huff? You've just said hell doesn't exist for when people do bad. But you've created hell for the artists. Well, I believe in hell. It doesn't mean that the outcome of hell will be as bad as you claim it to be. But it could be, and that is worse. Because if you profess to say that Jesus is who you look to, Mr. Huff, then Jesus did say you have to act a certain way. So it causes a bit of a conflict. If you want musicians to act a certain way, then you also have to say to the world, people, you are going to have to act in a certain way, or you will be thrown out. Anyway, enjoy your day.